Hey kids, it's Mr. Fly here, hope you're well. Out and about today on this beautiful winter's day on the massive V4 Multistrada. An absolutely beautiful bike that I've been riding for the last couple of weeks, and I've been getting to know it as well as I possibly can. So this video is my more in-depth review. It's going to cover all the lessons I've learnt about the bike. So if you're interested in the new Multistrada V4S, stick around, stay tuned, this video's for you.
So what a lucky chap I am to have not one but two Ducatis in my garage this week. I've got my trusty 899, which I rarely ride but I absolutely love, and I've got the incredible Multistrada V4, which is the subject, of course, of this video. Now, I've been lucky enough to be riding this bike for the last couple of weeks, and I've ridden it pretty much every day. And what I want to bring you in this video, the sorts of things that you wouldn't necessarily find out if you just took the bike out for, say, a half-hour test ride. So I've ridden it at night, I've ridden it in the wet, I've ridden it on motorways, all sorts of conditions. So I'll let you know what that's like, and I've also sort of come to know the bike as if it's my own a little bit. So I've got two lists to bring you, all the things I love about the bike as well as all the negatives about the bike. So as I often say, no bike is perfect. This one has a few niggles that I want to tell you about. These are the sort of things you won't see in other reviews, and also I want to take you through some sort of practical items as well about what it's like to actually live with the bike. So if you're interested in the Multistrada V4, stick around and stay tuned. This video is very much for you. Let's get on with it.
Alright, what about the urban environment and then riding the Multistrada in town? What's that like? Well, here I am in beautiful Aylesbury. Put a bit of a test to see what she's like in town, and I have to report, absolutely fine. Number of things in favour of the bike for in-town work. Number one, it feels nice and light when you're riding her, so if you need to nip between traffic and stuff, that's easy peasy on this. Much lighter than it looks, or it feels lighter than it looks. Next thing I'd say is it is a big old bike, big frontal area. It's got a great sort of presence about the bike, so people see you coming. Well, that's a definite plus point when you're riding in town. And because you're sitting nice and tall as well, you've got great view over traffic, you can work out where you need to go. And then the other thing that I'd say about the Multistrada, if you find yourself queuing up and stuff in traffic, the fueling on here is lovely. These days it's pretty hard for manufacturers to get fueling sorted with Euro 5 and all that, but on the Multistrada, slow speed handling in town, absolutely lovely. So as far as I can find out and decipher, am concerned, whatever the word is, I find riding in the town on the Multistrada a breeze. Alright, before we actually ride the bike at night, let me show you what the headlights are on, are like normally. So here we are, this is what the lights are like when you're just riding normally. They've got these amazing daytime running lights, sort of eyebrows, but they look kind of mean. I really like that. And the controls of them, makes a lot of sense. So you've got the normal button here, put it back to flash them, like so. And then you just click it forward to bring the full beams on. And the full beams look like that. They look very bright indeed from where I'm looking at them. Alrighty, with the magic of YouTube then, let's see what they're actually like at night. Okay, here we are then, riding the Multistrada at night. Let's see how those lights do in reality. And as ever, the GoPro struggles to show a bit of the lights, but I have to say, here we are, look, on dip beam, and they're alright. They're fairly widespread, not bad at all. And if I get a chance to it without these oncoming cars to go to full beam, there we go. Now full beam, absolutely incredible. Look at that. Hopefully you can see that on the GoPro. That is absolutely lighting the way ahead brilliantly. Those lights are excellent. Right, so I'm now going to go down my favourite dark lane that I do these sort of night tests on. And the other thing that is immediately obvious is the lit switchgear on here. What a treat to see that lit up in red so it doesn't dazzle you. Quite a lot of switchgear on the Multistrada, so having it lit is a real nice thing. I just wish more bikes would do that, but yeah, looks really nice in the red. That's excellent. And the brilliant TFT on here as well, nice and clear at night time. Obviously it's already white on black, so it doesn't change at night. It is quite bright, but not particularly distracting. Yeah, going back to full beam, look at that. That is amazing. These are night into day type of lights. Really, really good on there. Just trying to work out if I've got cornering lights on here. I don't think I have actually. I might have said I did earlier, but I don't think these lights are cornering on here. That said, they're pretty good at night. Again, there's dip, there's full. Full is just staggeringly good. Yeah, nice. No problems riding the Multistrada at night. The lights are excellent on it. Okay, how about faster roads on the Multistrada? Here I am on a dual carriageway. This is the A5. And well, as you'd expect, the Multistrada's pretty darn good. Loads of power, no doubt about that, so we don't need to discuss that. And pretty comfortable. The only thing I would say is there is, with this standard screen, and I apologise for how messy this screen is, with the standard screen there is a little bit of airflow hitting the top of my helmet, and also I'm getting it a bit in the shoulders as well. This is in its upper position, so I think there is a touring screen available. In fact, I know there is. Definitely, I think get the touring screen for if you're going on motorways for a period of time. It would just cut out about that bit of that wind blast, but otherwise very comfortable place to be. Bags of power, these little in-mirror awareness thingies, I can't remember what they're called now, but the things that blind spot detection system, that's what I was looking for. These blind spot detectors are amazing. They've been going on and off like a good one since I've been on this road. Excellent feature. And of course, with the multi on these roads, you've got this new radar controlled cruise control. Here we go, car in front is slowing down, the bike is slowing down. See, it's gone down to 70 miles, 69 now, and that car's pulled away. The bike is now speeding up again. Works really well, and another plus for riding this on this sort of road.
Alright, at the start of the video I said I'd bring you some practical matters about what it's like to actually live with the bike. So let's look at some of those practical matters now. One thing that often crops up is, does it have fitted those right angle valves? Well, yes it does. I'm glad to say here we have right angle valve there, so it's nice and easy to get at to pump the tyres up. And of course it's exactly the same on the back down here somewhere. There we go, right angle valve there as well. So that's absolutely fine. Next thing, lubing the chain. How hard is that? Well, I'm glad to say, as you can see, the bike does have a centre stand, or at least this one does. I'm not sure if it's an option. So you can stick it on the centre stand. There's the chain, very easy to get at to do your lubing. So that's excellent. Next thing often I get asked is, what about checking the oil? Does it have a dipstick or is it a sight glass? Well, on this one I'm glad to say it's a sight glass just there, so no messing about with the dipstick. That's nice and easy. Alright, fuel economy, something that comes up quite often on the Multistrada. I think if you've got enough money to buy yourself a brand new Multistrada, you probably don't care too much about the fuel economy. But since I've had this, I've been doing 36.9 miles per gallon. So yeah, I guess she is a pretty thirsty bike. And then the other thing that people ask occasionally is, what's the horn like? Well, on this one, it sounds like this. You just have to kind of imagine how loud it is. It's pretty loud, bog standard horn on this. Okay, OEM tyres fitted on this. This one's got Pirelli Scorpion Trail 2s. Okay, what about seating position on the bike? Well, I'm a sort of medium-sized fella, 5'8", 32-inch leg, whatever that means. And as you can see, if with the bike sort of in the middle, I'm on my tippy toes. This is with the seat at its lowest possible setting. You can adjust it higher as well, so if you're taller than me, you'll be absolutely fine. But if you're 5'8" like me, you're fine on it on your tiptoes like that. And then when you're actually on the bike, your leg is you know, a little bit of an acute angle, but it's very, very comfortable seating position on the bike. Right, next up on practical matters, what's she like getting her on the centre stand, because it is quite a heavy bike. Let's have a go. Now this is all mostly about technique as well as brute strength, but here we go. Didn't seem too bad. Right, next, what's under the seat? Well, let's have a look. Stick the key in that slot there, give her a twist, and hopefully, I might not be able to do this one-handed. Let me put the camera down. Right, there we go. Let's just move that the other way, because of course it's got heated seats on this, both front and back, so there is a lead that connects the seat, so you've got to be, which is there, so you've got to be a bit careful when you take it off. But underneath the back seat, as you can see, basically no room. There is this rather neat looking Ducati toolkit. I assume we'll have a look in there, and then we've also got this little socket here, one of those little charging socket things you can plug your pump in or whatever. Let's just take a quick look in the toolkit and see how stingy they've been. Not many people give you a toolkit at all, so I'm not moaning. Oh, actually, this is pretty good. Oh, actually, it's not a toolkit. Look, it's tyre pumping up kit and tyre repair. Excellent. Not seen that before. Brilliant. Well done, Ducati.
So what's the mighty Multistrada like in the rain, in wet conditions then? Well, it's pretty damp on the roads today. It's just a bit of drizzle in the air, but I would class this as wet. The roads are particularly very slippery. I hope you can see okay as well. There might be a bit of rain on the camera lens, but yeah, it's a good bike in the rain, because of course it's got this massive front fairing on it and screen, so you're quite well protected from it. And then the next thing, of course, this bike is laden with the latest electronics, including fancy traction control, ABS and all that stuff. So it's got you, in terms of that kind of thing, braking and slippage. The only thing that I was a little bit surprised with when I came out today, I thought, oh, I better stick it in rain mode, because I had been riding it in don't know what it's called now, but it's more dynamic mode. And anyway, I can't find a rain mode. I've got it in touring. Changing mode is quite easy. There's a mode button over here. Look, you just hit it, and then bingo, you use the little joystick to flip through them. So we've got sport, urban, enduro, touring. As I say, I'm leaving her in touring. Just close the throttle as usual, and bingo, we're back in touring again. But no rain mode specifically. I'm sure one of those modes probably does as that. Maybe it's urban, which is softens things up, and you could use as a rain mode. But I was surprised that it didn't have that. I've never ridden a bike with riding modes that doesn't have a specific wet mode on it. The tyres feel good, confidence is sparring in the wet. Absolutely no issues riding the big Multistrada in wet conditions. Alright, let's go and do my lugging about test, should I? This is the test designed to simulate what it's like moving your motorcycle around your garage, and also this is a chance to see what the turning circle's like. So we're just going to come up here. This is lovely Great Missenden, by the way. Let's go up here, do a left, and then I'm into the station car park. An ideal spot to do my test, so speak to you in a sec. Alrighty, here we are in the station car park. Let's try and position so that we don't get too blinded by the sunshine. Right, I'm going to stick it in the middle of this standard size parking spot here. Here we go. Finding neutral on this can be a problem, but actually once it's warmed up it's not so much of an issue, I've found. Right, let's kill that. Right then, so here we go. Is physically a pretty big bike with the panniers on. Well, I suppose it's not hard to get at. You've got this grab handle here, lifting her up off the side stand. It falls over quite a way, so it is a bit of a heave to bring her up, but not as it's not as top heavy as Multistradas of the past, I have to say. Right, let's go round then. Full lock. The lock on this is quite something. Let's come all the way round. I mean, it does feel heavy, but it's not nightmarishly so. There we go. We're right on the line there. Look. So let me just pop that there. So we started in the middle of that one, full lock, and we came around there. That is one of the tightest turning bikes I've ever done this test on. So the handlebar lock is incredible, and as far as moving it around on your driveway, it is quite heavy. It is a bit of a heave off the stand. It's easier than previous Multistradas, not quite as easy as the GS. That would be my summary. Okay, what about going on tour on the Multistrada V4? Well, besides it being a good rhyme, it's also been an excellent bike to do it on. Let's face it, these adventure bikes mostly are used as touring bikes, aren't they? And I'd be no exception if I had one of these. This bike really is sort of designed for touring, I would argue. Great weather protection, so if you're, skipping off the miles on motorways, auto routes, autobahns, that sort of thing, then you're pretty well protected for your journey down. Lovely and comfortable in this riding position, and with a nice comfy seat as well, with your heated backside if you need it, so you can get to your destination in real comfort and speed. And then when you get there on this bike, amazing if you take it to the Alps or something. It's so agile, this bike, for whipping around those alpine passes. It would be such a lot of fun. Also, get luggage with it. Quite expensive, the Ducati luggage, but I find the panniers a little bit fiddly. You can get a top box as well, but the point is, it's all there. You can carry your stuff as well. So if you want specifically, blimey, that sun's bright, that's what you want on tour. If you're specifically want a bike for going on tour, then you'd probably be quite hard pressed to find a more suitable bike than the excellent Multistrada V4.
Okay, so at the start of the video, I said I would bring you a list of all the things I've learnt about the bike, not just the good stuff, but the negatives as well. I've written them all down so I don't forget anything crucial. Let me take you through that list now. And these are in no particular order of importance. You can decide yourself whether they're important to you or not. So first thing, heated grips, a bit of a faff to turn on and off. Oh yeah, let me show you how this works. So the heated grips on this, I love heated grips on bikes, that's great. But for this bike, what you have to do is you press this button here, which is the heated grips button. Once you've done that, it brings a menu up on the main screen, and then you have to use this button here to scroll through it to set them onto the setting you want. So that is a bit of a faff. And to make matters worse, when you turn the bike off, it doesn't remember what setting you had it in. It remembers what setting the heated seat was in, but not the grips. You have to go through that all again if you turn the bike off. Next up, I've written here, thirsty. We covered it off in the practical items. I've been getting, as I say, about 38 miles per gallon out of this. So, that is quite thirsty, isn't it, for a bike? Oh, next up, a couple of things. This may seem a bit odd about the phone slot. So, well, it may not be a phone slot, but just here, you've got this bit of debris here, which is supposed to be so you can put your phone in, there's a USB port there as well, so you can charge it. That's all well and good, but unfortunately my iPhone 13 Max Pro won't fit in there. It's not big enough. And then the other thing about this particular slot, I've found, I don't know why this is, and there may be a setting somewhere I've just not found, but whenever I turn the bike off and then on again, that slot pops open as if to say, put your phone in here. Well, of course, I can't fit mine in, so I'll just shut it again. So it's just a little niggle, a bit annoying. It might be a setting somewhere I haven't found, but that seems to open up every time I start and stop the bike. Bit annoying. Right, next on my list here, I've written down here, lack of low-speed grunt. Now, I'm really comparing this with my GS, which of course is a twin, and that has loads of low-down grunt. But when you pull this bike off initially off the line, it does feel a little bit wimpy, which surprised me. You quickly get used to it, and this is definitely not a wimpy bike. 170 brake horsepower, the thing is an absolute beast. But when you pull away, it's not as grunty as the GS. To be expected, I guess. And while I'm talking about comparisons, inevitably with the GS, a bike I know very well, you do have to change gear a lot on this bike compared to the GS. Again, it's the difference between a 4-cylinder and a twin, I guess, but this one you're working the gearbox considerably harder than you are on a GS, which you can just roll away lazily, you know, in third gear, and it doesn't complain too much. With this, you're up and down the gearbox all the time, which is absolutely fine because it's a lovely gearbox and it's got a quick shifter up and down, so no real issue. Next on my list, wind protection off this screen. It's generally all right, but at higher speeds I find the wind just whips around the edge and it kind of gets you in the shoulders. So the wind protection is not ideal with the basic screen, certainly not for me. Depends on what kit you're riding, you're wearing, how big you are, that sort of thing. Yeah, I think I'd probably get the touring screen just to stop that bit of buffeting around the shoulder area. Something else I've found to be an annoyance on the bike is this here, the indicator button. It's in the usual spot where you'd expect it, but I've just found this to be a little bit fiddly. With gloved hands, it's quite small, quite hard to get hold of. It would be great if Ducati would make that a bit bigger for the next iteration. Next on my winch list, these panniers. Great that you can get panniers for it and they look lovely and they're relatively spacious, but I just find this type, with this type of handle, quite fiddly to use. You have to sort of press them in and push just to get them to open. Just a bit fiddly to use the panniers, I think. Well, I'm having a little moan. This bike, of course, not shaft drive like some of the competition, which is a bit of a shame. I like a shaft drive with the, you know, the lack of maintenance that comes with that. So you're going to have to like lube in a chain with this one. I love this start-up procedure on here. Watch how it draws us a little Multistrada. There you go, look at that, fantastic. So, whilst I do like the TFT screen on this bike, one of the things I don't like is the fact that for satellite navigation, you have to use an app on your phone. Now, as it turns out, the satellite nav on this is quite good in that it does show you a proper map, not just turn-by-turn stuff, but it does rely on you having your phone, again, fitted in that central box, which we've already talked about. So I would just rather have a proper sat-nav mounted up here somewhere rather than having to rely on an app on a phone. But there we go, that's just a personal dislike. Now, the personal dislike that I have with this bike is that it's flipping hard to clean. All adventure bikes are hard to clean, and I hate riding dirty bikes. Now, this one has got really dirty during the time that I've had it, as you've probably seen in some of the clips that you've seen. But yeah, this bike, quite hard to clean, lots of nooks and crannies. It tends to throw the crud up underneath here. I don't know how long these header pipes are going to stay in good nick. They're already starting to look a little bit rusty at the top, and the amount of crud underneath there is quite shocking there. It has got a reasonable mud guard, but nonetheless, that throws up quite a lot of crud, and there are all sorts of nooks and crannies around here that are going to get full of dirt. So yeah, you're going to have to be a bit like me and love your cleaning if you get yourself a Multistrada. Right, last but not least in my list of whinges about the bike, at low speeds when you pull away, the engine sounds a bit naff on this, I think. Again, it's just a small personal point, and this one's even fitted with the fancy Acra pipe, although you can't really see it in there because it's covered up by the pannier. And again, look at the amount of crud that's got on there. But yeah, it's at low speeds, when you're in traffic and stuff, it doesn't sound too sharp. Crikey, what a whinger, eh? Let's get on to my positive list, shall we? And there are plenty of these, and arguably the things on my positive list I think are much more important than the things on my negative list that are really just little niggles. These are more important, I think. So the first thing I've got, and again in no particular order, the power of this bike, 175 brake horsepower. This is the most powerful adventure bike that you can buy, and if you want it to be, it's really flipping fast. It's amazing, the engine on this. So yeah, the power of the bike, incredible. It's very light and agile feeling when you're on the move, even though it is quite a heavy bike and you know, relatively difficult to move around your garage and stuff. Once you're on the move, like any heavy bike, it moves absolutely fine. You know, but it feels a lot more agile, and you can throw the thing around much more than you'd expect. It's got a really nice, light and agile feel about it. I think it feels lighter and more agile than the GS, which again feels way lighter and more agile than you'd think it would when you look at it. Anyway, so that was the other thing. Looks amazing. Again, very much a subjective thing, but look at this bike. I just think the Multistrada is the best looking of the adventure bikes. I love this beak on here. It's just got that Ducati fit and finish. It's got that specialness that you feel when you're riding a Ducati. So yeah, in terms of looks, I think the bike is an absolute winner and something that Possibly it shouldn't do, but it does have a big bearing in my buying decision. I think the thing looks lovely. Next up, incredible turning circle. I mean, they've done a top job on here. I mean, there's obviously a lot of room under there, under those forks, because it's frankly, it turns on an absolute dime, this thing. It's one of the tightest turning bikes I've ever ridden, I think, so that's very handy. Again, helps you out if you're moving it around the garage and stuff. Next up, all very, very comfortable. The seats on here are amazing. Lovely padding, deep, nice and wide, really comfy place to be, and really helped out too with the heated seats, both for the rear, which you control by there, and the main one that you do via the joystick on the front. So yeah, really, really comfortable bike, and that's a massive plus. Service intervals I've written here, 9,000 miles or 2 years. What a breath of fresh air that is. So many bikes have like service intervals of 8,000 miles or a year, whatever comes sooner. Not so with this bike. You can ride this for 2 years and you'll still be within the warranty term. So that's excellent. Thank you, Ducati, for that. Next up, I've said TFT nice and clear and easy to use. You've already seen that. The TFT is lovely on this one. Not quite as good as BMW's, but not far behind. Oh, blind spot monitoring is excellent. Now, this comes with the radar package. So there's the front radar sensor, and then you've got a sensor at the back as well, which is just there. And those two together means that you can actually monitor to the side of the bike, and then these little lights here on the mirrors actually come on to warn you if there's a vehicle in your blind spot. We've seen it on cars for a while, never seen it on a bike before, but that has been active so many times when I've been riding this bike. It's absolutely brilliant, and I kind of miss it now when I ride my other bikes. Oh, and then the last thing I've written down here, again, may not be important to you if you don't ride the bike at night, but the lit switch gear on here is absolutely brilliant. Nice touch. Why don't more bikes have lit switch gear?
So there we are, folks. That's my in-depth review of the mighty Multistrada. It's a real tongue twister, that one, every time I have a problem. Anyway, what a lovely bike it is. As you've gathered, I absolutely love this thing. Very little not to like. One or two little niggles which would get on my nerves a bit, but yeah, overall the things that really matter, the ride, the agility, the pace, the comfort, the looks, are all spot on this bike. I really, really like this, and it does make you wonder whether my BMW GS days are numbered. Anyway, we shall see what the future brings. I hope you enjoyed that video. Always love reading your comments. I try and answer as many as I possibly can. So do leave your comments below on the bike, particularly if you're an owner, anything you think I may have missed. And if this is the first video of mine you've seen, then do consider subscribing. It'd be great to have you along. I don't just do bike reviews here on the Missing and Flyer, but I do bits and pieces in the garage about how to look after your bike. I do a monthly bike news feature. I do trips and tours at home and abroad. Basically anything and everything to do with motorcycles. I'll try and cover it here on the Missing and Flyer. It'd be great to have you along. Right, that's it for now. Look forward to speaking to you next time. Until then, this has been the Missing and Flyer. Cheerio.